Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Miles Trial. Today is day 29 of the Miles Guo trial. It is so good to be back after a long weekend for July 4th. So again, happy July 4th to all of our American viewers out there. I hope everybody's had a very good Independence Day weekend. And with that being said, I just wanted to recap a little bit on the trial. So currently, Miles Guo is facing trial in the Southern District Court of New York. He is facing 12 counts of financial charges and also 1 count of RICO, and he has never pled guilty to all 13 of these charges. And and last week when we left off of the show, we are currently on the 5th witness from Miles's legal team. So I think with today, there actually has been a good number of witnesses who have also appeared for Miles's side, which is very exciting to see, as always, as we have known what the witnesses have testified to last week and I know the CCP was mentioned quite often in some of the witnesses' testimonies, and it was actually centered around the CCP for 2 of the witnesses, for witness number 3 and witness number 4. So with that being said, I would like to bring on Jackson and Feather to the show. Welcome, Feather, and welcome, Jackson. It's good to have you guys back.
Hi, Saturday,
All right.
everyone.
Happy to be back. What's going on, everybody?
So I do gotta ask, after such a long weekend, how is Miles today? Is it?
Oh, energized. From my perspective, fresh haircut once again. Sharp suit as always. Sharp blue navy suit, clean. Sharp white shirt, dark black tie. And Mr. Miles Guo, as always, very sharp. Always has a swagger about him, and when he walks in the room, it definitely lights up the room for sure.
Yeah, and also I just wanted to ask you guys too, like how many people are at the trial? Is it more people that is coming to spectate the trial?
Oh, there's so many people right in the morning when we arrived there. The lines already went in one complete circle.
Oh wow!
Over the hallway.
Outside the court.
The space was
Yep.
outside of the courthouse, and they were waiting to enter. There's so many people. I got so intimidated because social anxiety. So many people, and then and then a lot of people couldn't make in to the 26B, so they moved to 15, and a lot of people I saw from Canada, and some people I knew, they came just this week to see the trial in person. Yeah, so many people today.
Yeah, I think we had possibly a record today of number of attendees when we got there in the morning. Like Feather said, there were it's like a dragon, right? It wrapped around almost twice outside the courtroom. Everybody's lined up. I mean, everybody was very respectful. When we got there, it was super quiet.
It was super quiet.
Super quiet. Everybody was very, very respectful. And then, for sure. I think, like Feather said, the room was top off today, and the rest of the people that couldn't, make it in the session inside of the courtroom had to go to the 15th floor for, the viewing.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of audience today, but it turned out one of the jury member, it's excused due to some health reasons, and one of the alternate jury replaced her. So right now there's 12 jurors and plus 3 alternate jurors.
Wow, so I believe we started out with 6 alternate jurors, correct? So now we're down to half of the alternate jurors.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was the 10th juror that was replaced by the alternate number 1. Just to be a little more specific, but yeah, like Feather said, we had a little bit of a change today, but all's well.
And I do know, since it's a long weekend and there were a couple of things the court actually wanted to confirm with the legal team. Yeah. I think one of the things was if Miles is going to testify.
Yes.
Have they gone to a conclusion in that regard?
Yes. Yeah. Miles. So the question when it was asked to their lawyer, Sid responded that Miles does not intend to testify in court for himself.
Currently at this time.
Yes. And the judge speak to Mr. Miles directly. So he was standing out. He was responding to the judge. So the judge was asking, so you're not intend to testify, but you have the right to defend yourself, in court, etc. And Miles said in Chinese, in Saturday and Sunday, Sabrina and Sid, we discussed about it.
Right.
And I decided not to testify.
Mhm.
So the judge confirmed that they were given enough time to discuss this matter, whether he was going to testify or not. And they confirmed that it's purely his decision to testify or not. So this decision of not testify is made by himself. It's not convinced by someone else. It's purely his decision not to testify. And that's so he won't be testifying.
Well, with that being said, still legally he still has the right to change his mind, last minute if he so wishes, legally. So, but
was that something that was communicated today during the court?
Yep,
okay.
Yep. Mr. Miles' lawyer said communicated to the judge that currently at this time, Mr. Miles has decided that he does not intend on taking a stand. But with that being said, we still hold the legal right to make that decision if that time were to come.
Right. And what about the other witnesses? Like, was there anything that was communicated right before the trial took place in regards to the other witnesses from Miles' side?
Right. About two
Mr.
specific witnesses that they discussed before the
Oh, right.
court.
Because I remember there was another motion from the government that that seeks to strike off a portion of the testimonies made by
Mr.
Miles'
Oh,
first
yes,
witness,
yes.
Mr. Dragon.
So for the future witness, there are two witnesses that they discussed, but there's the one that's the one you talk about, the testimony. So the motion raised by government to take away some of the testimony, regarding the investments that he testified about on GTB. The two issues raised by government are all denied by the judge. So all the testimony is gonna still stay there and be valid for the record. Yeah.
Oh, that is some
it's
great
really
news
good
for
news.
Miles' team. I guess.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. Because again, this is about striking off a part of the testimony. So that would mean removing a part of the witness's testimony from the record. So the fact that we were allowed to keep his testimony onto the record, I think that is great, especially seeing that he is a expert witness who had testified to the value of GTV, if I remember correctly, which is very crucial to this case, as it pertains to the value of GTV and what the turnouts for the investments are. That's because again it's financial crimes in regards to some of the G series entities. And besides that, I think they also probably discussed more about the witnesses, right? Or is there anything you want? Or is there another piece of information regarding the?
We did discuss about how many witnesses were left. A couple of names came up, right? There is Leanne. We know that there's a lady. There's George Higginbotham. Right, so those two.
So Higginbotham is confirmed as a witness.
Correct, and we actually said in court that he may take the stand as early as today.
Oh.
Even though we finished with number 5 today, dot line. We are on 7 right now. So with the additional 2, we'll see where we go from there. But yeah.
Right, and today will end at 5 p.m. correct, as opposed to the regular schedule.
Yeah. We're on a full day schedule for this whole week. It's going to go till 5. Same as last week, where we have 2 breaks, 3 sessions. That's the schedule.
Regarding Higginbotham's testimony, or his appearance in court, the thing with him is. This is a really important matter, actually. That he was not the defense team is not allowed to mention that he previously worked for DOJ, the Department of Justice, and then they have to make clear that that he's not act as a part of DOJ when he was conducted the conspiracy. So as you know that George Higginbotham was a lobbyist.
Right, he was a part of the lobbying efforts to attempt to repatriate Miles back to communist China.
That's right.
Under the orders of the CCP.
Yeah, but influencing the Trump administration, right? But then it was said that they have to make clear that he was not act as a part of DOJ when he conducted this conspiracy, and they have to tell they didn't allow him to tell his DOJ's employment first, and the judge was like, you have to tell him not to tell. He worked for DOJ. And then later on, I believe it's a fact that he did work for DOJ, and this is allowed, and it's also stipulated already that he's worked with DOJ by government and the defense. So they all agree that it's a fact that he worked for DOJ, but this matter is going to be mentioned. And the judge, first denied not to mention this, but then
approved for it to be mentioned.
Yeah, because it's stipulated.
So it's already, a part of a testimony essentially.
Yes, that's right. And the defense team didn't have access to this witness. They haven't seen him.
Yeah,
right?
Mr. Miles' team, the legal team, did not have access to this gentleman, George Higginbotham, through this whole process because of George's lawyers denied, the access. So we will see how that goes. But that's something we did want to point out is that Mr. Miles' team, the legal team, did not have, access, like the rest of our defense's witnesses.
So that means no communication was conducted between Higginbotham or directly with the defense's legal team, correct?
Yep.
And I believe because he's handled with another department, it's not with the Southern District of New York, right? It's in the Washington D.C., I believe, or the Washington State. He was handled with another party. So this is the one of the arguments that they trying to solve. And another one, there's just a delay in preparing the evidence regarding to Miss Lian Li testifying in court.
What do you mean by evidences and this witness's testimony?
Oh, it was like an exhibit that our team wanted to use, but because there's so much work that led up to this point that it's only one piece that was delayed a little bit, so it couldn't be, let's just say, how do you say, what's the word is, it couldn't be completely, prepared for the court. It was ready to go. It's just that the government was arguing, oh, you guys sent it to us too late, we couldn't, this and that. And so they were saying, because originally George Higginbotham, in terms of the sequence of the witnesses, he was supposed to be the last. And then the government was arguing to say, hey, why don't you guys switch it up, right? Have George Higginbotham and why don't you end on Leanne? And things like that, because you guys had a piece of exhibit that you guys wanted to talk about, but we received it so late, and so that was a little bit of their argument. But in terms of who really decides at the end of the day, it's still going to be our team.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's the additional revision. Do you know which document they were talking about in the beginning of the discussion? They talked about this revision as a document for the jury. And there was
just some legal languages inside of the transcript. For example, with Ms. Miles Guo, the government asked that, hey, they wanted to, for all the transcript that says, for example, Miles Guo, they wanted to include the rest of the other labels.
Such as AKAs.
Yeah, all of it, right? Like Ho and Kwok, right? Go and Gui, the boss, the principal, they want to add everything. And then the judge decided that, we'll revise to add,
Ho and Kwok, Miles Guo, yes, Go and Gui and Miles Guo. Yes,
that's right.
Yes. They're all the same person.
That's right. Yep.
I think that would probably be easier to make it to go through the documents as these are the names he's more commonly associated with and familiar with by the other people, other folks.
Yeah. So this additional revision document, it's you have the defense side and the government side trying to make some request, something to add, something to take away, and the judge adds some additional information or instructions for the jury to understand better and then give a fuller picture. Understanding. Yeah. Right,
because because that's quite important. That some of the evidences, they might not all be, they might not all say Miles. They might say a different name, from time to time. So it does bring more clarity in that sense.
Yeah. Just I suppose it's just some housekeeping. Got to get everything cleaned up, right? And then we went through. We were led into the courtroom, just 10 minutes shy of 9, and then we got started pretty much right on time. And then we went through the revisions and the whatnots. It took about like half an hour or so, possibly a little longer.
This whole discussion between the attorneys and then before the course started took an hour. So the course officially actually delayed for half an hour. So it started at 10:06. That's when the jury entered. But then shortly after, they entered, and then the direct examination continues. After one question, there's a break because the technical issue with the with the simul translation equipment, and then after 25 minutes it was resumed, so a lot of time was wasted.
So pretty much it kind of really just started at 10:30.
10:30. That's an hour before lunch.
So that's how essentially the first session went today. Yeah, a lot of housekeeping, technical issues, and then
Right, and I do know since we're getting near the end of the trial, maybe that's why there's like so many things they want to confirm on. I think they also probably talked about the jury as well, right? I think for
deliberation.
Yes.
Yeah, and they were talking about how they should get the laptops ready, the cables ready, for them to have all the evidences in the laptop, and etc. I believe they briefly mentioned that about deliberation.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's a lot to go through. Hey.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I think we also have quite a few witnesses to go through, and I know last week we actually didn't really get to touch upon the fifth witness. So do you guys want to start off with the fifth witness, and then I think we're still continuing with the direct examination today, correct? We didn't start off with the cross. Okay.
Right.
So let us continue from this witness. I think let us give the viewers a little bit of a background as to who he is. Just because we didn't really get a chance to do that on the last show.
Sounds good. Yeah. So the fifth witness is Dalai. His name Dailai. He is a past investor of the G series. He's somebody that essentially invested in GTV, the G series. But so his story is that he learned the investment details actually from the fellow fighters, the group chats, right? And it wasn't like, he watched Mr. Miles' live stream and with all the details.
So this is something new.
Yeah, he actually communicated with Sarah Wei at the time with all the information.
First of all, totally. And first of all, he lives in Germany for 17 to 18 years. That's the reason why he needed a translator, because I believe he knows German and Chinese, but not English quite a lot. So before that, he was in China, and then he had 2 BA in China, law, and the MBA. Not MBA, but the accounting, I believe was the accounting management degree. And then in Germany, he obtained the master in law. He has 2 law degrees, one in China and one in Germany. So this is his education background, and his whole family moved to Germany eventually. And when he was asked about what's GTV, and he gave a really detailed response regarding what GTV is, like a global multimedia platform, promotes the whistleblower movements, and Mr. Miles Guo is one of the main speaker on it. It promotes truth, bridges between the countries to China. It's like it has functions like YouTube and the social media functions and etc. And then, as Jackson said, he heard about this investment opportunity with fellow fighters, and his view at the time is that, am I qualified for the investment opportunity? Am I qualified for this investment? And he took some steps to learn about this investment, and then eventually to invest. So he took steps to learn about it, talk about it with fellow fighters. He contacted Sarah Wei, which was handling GBOG for the smaller investors at the time. And smaller, it means that the investors, under 100,000. Just want to clarify. And Sarah Wei for details, and he wants to invest 150K at the time, and then before he invests, he said he wants to see more details, like business plan, the benefits, the ability, and the capability,
right,
etc., etc. And then because he says this is an interactive 2-way process, because if I want to invest in something and they might not accept, so and then he also assessed the risks associated with it, right? So when he was asked, "Oh, did you know this is a startup company?" and he said, "Yes, he is well aware that this is a startup company, but this is not his concern because before he made this investment, GTV is operating, right, and also had a lot of developments." And it was that made him confident about the company, and then therefore invest after reading all of the documents of the like the private placement memorandum and all those details about investment. So this is let me see here. So he said there is risk. It's not there's more or less risk. There's a higher risk because the CCP might interfere in the development. And then he talked about how like the advantage of GTV, for example, you can live broadcast, there's social communication function, the digital currency function, you can pay the live streamer directly. This is better than the way they do the ads, like for example on YouTube. You can pay the content more directly, so the content creator can focus on the contents.
You mean
right?
they make like for the viewers to make donations?
Yes, if they like this content creator, you can. If I like your video, right, and I can give you some gift, but it's actually it's like pay you in a way to say I like your content very well, and sorry, and this is the way for them to concentrate on the content the creation, not that to think about ads and how to get sponsored, etc. Right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I mean, when it comes to the GTV platform, it's really to cut out the quote unquote middleman, where it really, if you think about it, you're serving your audience directly versus saying, hey, here's the advertisers, and you have to play this game with the advertisers of censorship and whatnot if they want to, if certain things, right? So it's like, but anyways, like what Feather said, GTV is definitely a platform that allow that freedom, for people to connect directly with and support their, content creators directly without the I suppose the advertisers come into play that want to maybe. Yeah.
And I think this is very interesting too, because I think this is the first time some of the supporters or former supporters like on the prosecution side where they have kind of talked about a GTV from a user experience point of view, right? This is kind of like a breath of fresh air where we don't talk about the investment side. We kind of shy away from it. We talk a little bit more about what GTV was back in its day when it was still up and running. I think that's very interesting to see how it was created as like an actual platform where people can interact with one another to kind of discuss, to support one another as well. When they're pushing out content. It doesn't have to be about taking down the CCP, but a majority of it was just because of the fact that one of the more influential figures on GTV was Mao Guo, and who happens to be the #1 enemy of the Chinese Communist Party. And along with that, there's a lot of people who support him and also try to spread his message a little bit more through their own content on that as well. So it's just definitely interesting to see.
Yeah, and the step he took, because he has his own e-commerce company, I'm sure he has some access to some technical access more than we do in a way. Like he did, like it says, quantitative data that he was monitoring the website for to track the traffic,
the sales from Amazon, for example.
Like Alexa by Amazon, it was tracking the website traffic. They did like a website traffic evaluation to see how much people are using this website, right? The data. Well, overall.
Yeah, you can track the sales like of certain products, for example. I think what that part really highlights is the fact that he is not somebody that's just a quote unquote Joe Schmo, right? He has a technical background with e-commerce, with technology, for example, and they went into talking about the functionality of GTV, right, and among some of the other technologies that we had. So it really solidified that GTV was a real app, was a real platform, was a real thing that was fully functional, and everybody was on it, and we're
real investors as well, right?
Exactly. So it really solidified that.
Right, and then this argument of him being a very independent investor that will be proven later on in his testimony, which really want to bring up later. And same with his testimony about HPay. They were showing like a video of him showing the video. It's like a screen recorded video of him using the HPay app to do some transactions. Send. And then the other one, just you see the account on the other side of the screen, just receive right away, right? It's like very convenient. I wasn't there, but I knew that's what they were showing in the last trial day in court. And today was asked, the functions of HPay in I think it was 2022, right?
Yep, that's it.
Yes. So he recorded those no. So the function in the HPay in 2022 back then is the same as the video,
which is today.
Today.
Yeah.
So it's recent, and it is the same, right? And then the function of a Himalaya Exchange website is it the same as was before? Yes, it's always the same. And how about the experience of the functions? Are they the same? They're absolutely the same. And later on, we moved to NFSC. What is NFSC, right? And he gave a really detailed.
That's a very interesting question.
Yes, very detailed. He's gonna be asked about what does G stand for too. That I wanna get to. Very interesting. He said it's over to overthrow the CCP. Establish rule of law, build new regime in China. And first heard of it, it's in June 4th, 2020, which is the date that the NFSC is found right in front of the Statue of Liberty in the boat. And he was watching the live stream in Germany, and Mao's goal was Mr. Steve Bannon. They were announcing it, and when he was asked who else is on the broadcast at that day, he said Mr. Hao Haidong announced the declaration, and there's so many people because it's such a long live stream he didn't remember. So he said Mr. Hao Haidong, it's a famous soccer player in China, and he was the one who did the declaration, and then later on they moved to NFSC base,
the home base. In
NFSC home base in Mawa, which is first heard of it is in 2020, and then he was asked, what is this supposed to be? And then he answered to provide a place for the member of NFSC, G Club members, famous people, celebrity, I don't know, events, and
time
vacation,
of emergencies.
Time of emergency to provide a house, to provide somewhere to stay. And then there's a long sidebar discussion because of hearsay,
because the base really. His answer really highlighted the fact that it's a commercial purpose. It's a property for commercial purposes, right? It's not like somebody bought it for personal use. It's commercial purposes for more than one person, for a group of people, and for pretty much anybody and everybody. So yeah.
Well, I mean, for any G Club members, I think that's the key emphasis here because it's like you said, it's not for any private use, but it's for people. It's for really meant for G Club members.
Yeah. Then after a really long sidebar, like that lasted like 15 minutes, I don't know, and the direct examination's done. It's done. So when they moved to cross-exam by Mr. Horton, Justin Horton, I noticed that main arguments about the first part is that the witness believes everything Mao said in his. Believes everything Mao said in his broadcast. This is the thing that he wants to bring out. It's like, so the question's like, you thought he was a successful business person, right? Because he said so. You told his lawyer that he has a lot of credibilities, right? Is it true that, and then he said, I told them I like Mao's courage and honesty. And he thinks he was credible, and he was asked. So ever since he mentioned GTV, one sec, I'm kind of lost here in my notes. You wanna? Yeah.
So I'll pick it up a little bit. I mean, he was asked again, from watching Mr. Miles' live stream, because you say after discovering Mr. Miles, right, in 2020, and you watch all these hours of Mr. Miles and everything else, they were trying to essentially connect the dots between, you learned the GTV investment opportunity from Mr. Miles, right? He's credible, right? You trust him, right? Everything he says you believe in, right? But he said no, in terms of he actually learned the investment opportunity from Sarah Wei, from the fellow fighters, in terms of the investment opportunity, the information, and everything else. And so that was one part.
Right. I believe he's referring to, let me see, I have the date here. When he said about the GTV investment, there was 2 dates. Oh yeah, he first heard of a GTV platform, it's in April of 2020. And he first heard of the private placement, the investment, it's in mid-May 2020. So Miles talked about this private placement in April 20 of 2020. So this is the date. So he heard, I believe that he heard about this before. He heard about this before, right? No.
Well, it's 1 month before the actual launch of.
Yeah, the broadcast was before I heard about the investment, and then he wants to make the investment. So he believed everything that Miles about GTV is true, and then everything that Miles said on the broadcast is true. And then later on he was asked, "Oh, does G stand for? Do you believe that G for GTV stands for Guo?" Wait, 1 sec. So I want to add on this. So he said, "Do you believe everything about GTV is true?" And then he said, "Yes, after I read the documents." So he added this, after I read the documents, I believe everything about the value of GTV and the potential and all that is true.
So that's like a little bit of a difference again, from some of the past witnesses on the prosecution side that we have seen. This witness actually read through some of the documents and have a thorough understanding of the risk and such involved with making the investments.
He actually took the documents, everything, the legal documents taken into consideration before investing, which is the correct thing to do.
Right, absolutely.
Right? Yep. And this is because this is legal documents. This is gonna be valid to prove anything or to guarantee anything. If anything, this is a document that you need to read and to take consideration of, instead of someone said about something, right? And then he was asked, G of GTV stands for Guo, right? He said no. What about G when G Club stands for Guo? No. G Series? No. And
G Fashion.
He said G Fashion, etc., right? And he said he don't know what it represents, but he said, I know what it means. It doesn't mean Guo. It means global. He said global. And then later on he added, can I explain? But no, he can't explain because he can only answer the question. Right. But later on he did explain.
Yeah.
He was allowed to redirect?
Later on, when Sabrina, the redirect. Yeah.
That's it. And then essentially from there, they also mentioned, pretty much. I mean, it was pretty quick, actually. Let me take a look. Some of the dates that were mentioned, HCN, launched November.
Followed by the 20%, but followed by the G for what, the question. And he was asked, have you heard about Guo Media? And he said maybe. Eventually he want him to say that Guo Media, the Guo means Guo, right?
The G means Guo.
Guo Media means Guo Media, right? And he said he doesn't know. He said, I didn't invest in Guo Media. I didn't see any documents that explain it, so I wouldn't know what Guo stands for in Guo Media, right? And that's he's very
a clear distinction between the two.
Yes. Yeah. And so when he was asked about the Himalaya exchange too, he said he believed he didn't believe at first. He was only interested. So there are times that he didn't believe what Miles said, but he said it's because he's waiting for more info. He wants to see more documents, more information before, and then make his own judgment.
Yeah. I mean, he was also asked about the 20% HCN backed by gold, and at the end of the day, I'll summarize it really quick with you guys. Is that what he essentially said is that for him is that it's not about the 20% gold, the HCN backed by 20% gold. It was the fact that it was pegged 1-to-1 with the US dollar that gave him the ultimate confidence to move forward, with his investment. So that he cleared that up in court. That's on the transcript now, and yeah, that's a point. Definitely one I'm like, yeah.
Right. When he was shown to like the transcript where Miles said in the video that the G coin is the H coin HCN is backed by gold. He said this is Miles' understanding, and then the white paper didn't include gold, so there's no gold, right? And then he was asked, did Miles Guo design the H coin, and he doesn't know. And then he showed the video transcript again of Miles said in the video, and then he said about him. He said that he did some design, right? But then later on in the redirect, he doesn't know if Miles consult professionals to design or just give his own opinion on something. But he said he designed, but did it actually design? He wouldn't know, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it was taken out of context a little bit because if you look at the timeline of things, right? If the average person, if we were to start a company, right, and we're on a live stream, we're talking about, let's just say ABC, we were to start a restaurant, for example. Oh, we're gonna do French cuisine, but then when we actually launch, we want to actually do maybe Chinese or Korean or something else. We're at full discretion to change the menu as we wish, right? So if you look at the timeline of the video that they were trying to say, oh, Mr. Miles said this, but it really was that or this and that, but it's just like you got to take a look at the dates, right? So as we know in today's world, when it comes to business, things obviously adapt and change, and nothing is,
Right, and then G News,
Yeah.
what does G stand for? And he said he does not represent Guo, and then later on they let me see here. He's talking about later on just
essentially from there.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on time, because we have two more witnesses to talk
Okay.
about.
Right.
But one thing we did end on is the fact that, hey, you talk about redemption. Redemption in terms of being able to withdraw your money or this and that.
From the exchange, right?
Yes.
From the
exchange.
Correct. And the answer is he could still redeem money out. It's just that the limit changed. Right? And because this leads into the next witness, which showcased that people were redeeming, from the exchange, which solidified that this is very real. We're talking about multi-million dollars. We'll get into the figures when we get there. But that was another point that they wanted to make is like,
Right. And also, I just wanted to add another thing to this is the fact that, in one of the court documents that was filed prior to Miles's witnesses taking appearances was the fact that this was the list among many things that the government wanted to exclude from the testimonies, which is the redemptions the redemption proof of redemption on the Himalaya exchange, and this is great to see too because like you said, when you get to the figures, that's when we get a better picture of what's going on.
Yeah, the exchange is very real, and. With that being said, I mean, what do you think? Should we jump into the witness number 6?
Well, before we do that,
Yeah.
I actually wanted to just let the viewers know where they can find more information in regards to Miles's trial. So if you guys can find us on X at NFSC Speak and also on Getter at NFSC Speaks. On these two accounts, we will be posting live updates on the trial pretty much as soon as the information becomes accessible by our team. And also right after the trial, we will be uploading the court documents onto our official website at nfscofficial.com. If you guys don't have Twitter or Getter, you guys can watch the show on Rumble on LFA TV. This show will be live from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section or to leave some questions as the show is happening. I did see one earlier talking about what has Miles whistleblow, and I think one of the more important things that Miles has whistleblow on is the CCP's plan to release the bioweapon that is the COVID-19 virus back in 2017 through his review of the 13579 plan. And this is among the list of many things that he has whistleblown since then in 2017 against the CCP, and that is why he is the enemy number one of the Chinese Communist Party, because the information that we get is extremely crucial and it is extremely classified. information as well. So if you guys follow the NFSC, you guys will be sure to get more and more information in regards to the CCP's plans to as they spread their influence around the world, and you guys can be more well informed of what the CCP is planning in the recent months and in the coming months. So with that being said, let us move on to the next witness, unless you guys have something you want to wrap up with this witness.
Yeah, just the last thing about in the redirect when he was asked about G for G News, right? So he was able to answer why G means global and why it's obvious. He said, "Oh, G means global and it's obvious." That's what he said. You can, if you look at the design of G News, the logo of G News, okay, in the middle of the G, it's literally an outline of the globe of the Earth, and it says it stands for global, and it's the G in global. So this is his understanding and why he said that means global and not goal, and it's obvious. Okay, that's the last touch for this witness number 5, and we can move on to witness number 6.
Right, let us move on to the next witness. And this one, I believe, is quite short, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Jackson, do you want to give the audience a rundown of the witness's background, what he does, and what he testified to?
Okay, so witness number 6, his name is Thomas Bishop. Okay, he has an extensive background with, for example, that he worked in the IRS Criminal Investigation Division. He was with them for, he was a supervisor there for 6 years. Then he moved on, promotion, that worked in policy for another 16 months. Then he moved on to assistant, pretty much in charge. He moved back to New York for another 4 to 5 years there. Washington D.C. special agents. He was, overseeing special agents, special groups of special agents that did investigations. So they went through a lot of his, background, credentials, expertise, and whatnots. Guess what? Before he retired, he was working global investigations. I mean, this is at a high level. So altogether, he roughly with the IRS about 25 years, a very long time, right?
And he focuses on income tax and money laundering.
Yeah, income tax, money laundering are just some of the things that he investigated on. And then from there, he essentially worked for another company once he retired from IRS. And then he started his own firm, essentially, that did the work, the forensics, right, and stuff like that. And so that's pretty much his background. He started his own practice about 18 months ago. So he's definitely, his background is very extensive. Some of his titles I couldn't even write fast enough to track everything, but it is definitely on the transcript. So everybody go to our website to check out the transcript to get his full background. But yeah, he's
someone who has worked at numerous entities and for a very extensive period of times too. Whenever he's worked with them, so I think like among these other witnesses that we have seen, their credentials are pretty much solid, very solid.
Yeah, and he's testified in court before. Multiple times he testified on behalf of the government, on behalf of the defense in a criminal case, and he's testified in I believe in this court or some sort. But yeah, so you have like very experienced person who's been testifying in court before, and he's getting paid for doing this. Yeah.
Now, before I get to the next question, I just got noticed that we have new information coming from our team. Wow. And this new information right now is that the court resumed after a 30-minute break. Sabrina from Miles's legal team has finished the direct examination of Miles's seventh witness, Scott Barnett, and now the witness is being cross-examined by Mr. Ferguson from the government. Miles's legal team confirmed that the last two witnesses will be Leanne Lee and George Higginbotham. So as we have talked about earlier on the show, these are the two final names.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, very interesting to say the least, especially for Higginbotham's testimony.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to this current witness. I think I do have to ask a question because of seeing the credentials and how the ways the things have been for the past witnesses. Is this witness a expert witness or just in a different category?
He's offered an expert testimony before, but in this case, he's not offered
He's not
as
an
an expert.
Oh, I see.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we of course went over his background, his expertise, because we are gonna go into the bank records, the datas, because that's what he reviewed. You know, because we're talking about the redemption, right? From redeeming, like with the Himalayan exchange and everything. So, yeah. And then from there, essentially, we went to evidence, the spreadsheet that had the bank datas of the dollar amounts, the dates, the who's and everything else. Just to showcase that people were redeeming, you know, like large amounts of dollars.
Right, there's an Excel sheet, yeah, like Jackson said, of the all the records of the transactions or the withdrawals and redemptions from the Himalaya exchange, and you have the list. Well, this is made, and this sheet, it's backed with proper bank records from the bank that shows this person from this bank account withdraw this much from the Himalaya exchange bank account. So yeah,
so instead of showing like a total number, it shows like individual transactions, correct?
Yeah, it shows you, gives you everything: the transaction number, the description, the amount, the beneficiary account name, you know, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, and
two of the transactions were actually made by Dalai, which is the fifth witness.
Yes.
So it was showcased that our witness number 5 actually were successfully being able to redeem, you know, his. You know,
so this witness's testimony matched up with a previous witness.
It matched up with his own testimony, so you can see, and not only his own testimony, also Yali's testimony.
Yep.
That
Yali also said
that she redeemed. Well, she redeemed. Sorry, she redeemed. You know, the money from the Himalaya exchange, and then you know there's a record of her name, and then the you know the record of him, the redemption, and yeah. So
this is all very interesting to see too, because just knowing, you know, the Himalaya exchange, seeing the transactions that takes place, I guess looking at from another point of view is really just seeing how active the Himalaya exchange is in terms of these, you know, redemptions. I think that's something we don't really get to see just by looking at the value of the HCNs, right? The Himalaya exchange.
And this summary is amazing.
Sorry.
The summary is amazing because you know, they were showing like the chart where are you okay?
Oh yeah.
From November of 2021, which after the launch day, and to June of 2022, the highest watermark of the total amount that's been redeemed, it's 100 million.
Oh, no, it's 11 million.
Oh, sorry.
In 1 month.
11 million. I'm looking at 100, but 100. Sorry, 11 million.
Yeah.
And total transaction number, it's 561 transactions.
In 1 month.
Yes.
And then now with
the total.
Yeah, and then now the total for the period that we're talking about is actually 3,680 transactions or redemptions and $64 million.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, $64 million, everybody. This is no joke, right? This is a very real and fully functional, operational, legal entity that was, you know, changing people's lives. If you really, you know, want to put it that way.
Right. I mean, that's a huge amount of, you know, redemptions taking place.
Yeah.
Especially if you consider that this is a exchange only in its infancy. So this is actually, you know, great to see as well. You know, just to see, you know, how much redemptions have been taking place, just to really get an idea of you know how much bigger it could really get in the future.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, like, because like I think for everybody in the core really got to see, because for the average person like ourselves, we won't be able to see these data. Right? Like, we're not gonna, you know, there's no way for any of us to see, oh, there's $64 million worth of, you know, USD. We're not talking about RMB here, right? The USD that were redeemed. And so for us to see that, it actually solidified, at least, you know, for myself too. Everybody in the core, I believe that this is very real. We're talking about real money here, and it's just...
Because I think about it, and like Miles can only say so much, right? And then now you're being shown to this summary, and then backed up with real bank records, and you realize, oh wow, this has been operating and then been very successful operation from the period it's been shown, and the restriction before the restrictions, of course, you know, before the government seized the money in the Himalaya exchange. Before that, it was like perfectly functional. There's nothing, you know, people were able to redeem, and there's a limit to it. There's rules, you know, stuff like that. And then, you know, when during the cross exam, he was asked, this Miss Marie from government was asking, was asking this witness, "Oh, do you own an account in Himalaya Exchange? Oh, did you purchase any H coin?
HDO, H coin.
So do you have any H coin HDO and stuff like that?" He said no, right? He didn't have any of that, you know, as we know that Himalaya Exchange might have a different bank accounts, you know, because it is related still to the mission of taking down Chinese Communist Party, right? So this makes it a target of the CCP, and this is what can attract attacks or cyber attacks, and or like you know, you know, those banks suspicion of, like, you know, banks care about the reputation and stuff, right? So this, you know, this is why the Himalaya Exchange might have multiple bank accounts, and you know, Ms. Marie was asking, but did you know which bank accounts, bank record you were summarizing? You know, you didn't specify in the chart, and then she was trying to mix it up the concept of, oh, it says redemption on the chart. Does it really is redemption? Do you actually know they withdraw the money, right? Like, you know, they're trying to forcefully, like, to show, oh, it's maybe it's not offered the truth, right? It says redemption, but then did it actually did the client actually redeem those money, or was it moved to another account? This is the argument she's trying to make, right? Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, how can the average person, like, how can I know if, for example, you know, Saturn withdrew $5 million, you know, Feather withdrew $10 million. Like, I'm not gonna say, hey, Feather, show me your bank account, right?
Right.
So, but we had the evidence in court that showcased all of the transactions, the redemptions with the Himalayan Exchange and everything else. And I from my perspective, we really solidified the functionality of it, the legality of it, and how that it's fully operational. Even though the redemption amount, the limit changed after the seizure and the pressure and whatnot from the government, that definitely changed, but it was never zero, right? It was never zero.
Right.
So, and that was testified in court, right? Before 2022, it was $100,000, for example. Afterwards, it's X amount of dollars, for example. But still, it was still fully functional.
Yeah, you know, she was trying to argue, oh, is this your personal knowledge? You know, like, let me just go back to that page.
Yeah, and while you're looking for that page, I just like to make one more correction to the tweet we just put out. There's actually, you know, at least 2 more witnesses who are Leanne and also Higginbotham. There might be possibly more, but there are at least 2. So that's the correction. That's not the final 2.
Okay.
There are potentially more.
Okay.
Yep.
Never know.
No, so
Yeah.
Please.
Right. Yeah. So the argument was trying to make that she was asking if he has personal knowledge on whether these withdrawals in the sheet are actually redemptions, and then during the redirect, you know, he was asking, you know that the dialect you see on the chart, he was a witness number 5 before you, and he actually, you shows the exact amount that he redeemed, and you know the data that he redeemed and stuff like that, and then as well as Yali, who also was a government's witness.
Yep.
So there was already proof, proving that the redemption
there are
did
redemptions.
take place.
Yes.
I mean, from both sides, right? The defense
Right.
side as well as the government side.
Yeah.
Both witnesses, at the end of the day, redeemed dollars from the Himalayan Exchange. We're not talking about $1 or $2. We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just have 7 minutes left for the show. Do you guys want to?
Oh, wow.
And I do know that
Okay.
the trial is still going on right now, all the way till 5 p.m. today. So
Yeah.
we are actually going to be missing out on some of the information that is being discussed at the trial, just because the show started at 3 p.m. We're going to wrap up on the stuff that we didn't get to touch to, which will be pretty much just this witness, correct?
Yes.
The 7th witness.
witness.
Yeah.
So let's introduce the witness and also just touch upon I guess 1 or 2 of the main arguments that is being that is made by the defense's team.
All right.
Yeah, the second witness, it's an ex-NYPD officer. So his name is Barnett.
Yeah. Gerald Barnett. He also goes by Scott.
Yeah, Scott, which
Familiar name as to some of the for the viewers who have been watching, because his name actually came up when we cover when some of the witnesses testified about the purchase of the Mawa home
mansion.
base.
Yes. So he worked. He was hired as a security to provide security for their clients. He has a company, right? That's all.
We went through his background
Yeah.
a little bit. He was a security solutions expert. Of course, he had his background with the NYPD. He had his background in the military. He had to retire from the military due to injuries, as well as the NYPD. He had to retire due to injuries. On the job, right? On the job, and then from there,
Right.
he started with essentially Mr. Miles back in June of 2022. Okay.
He started working
here?
before that.
Oh, before that, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he worked with celebrities, high net worth individuals,
Yes.
and so he's not just some average security person. He worked with high level people. Yeah.
And he received a subpoena from the government. Yeah.
To testify, for the government.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was asked questions about, how was the work for him, and then what he would do to, as a security, for the company and for Mr. Miles. He was asked about, is there any risk and threats that happened during your work? He was asked about the vehicles, about the motorcycles and the Lamborghini, Bugatti. It was all asked. But one thing about motorcycle is that it's under his name, and he didn't know anyone used it. No one used it. It was originally purchased for the music videos of Miles School, because he's doing music stuff. That's what he said. And also, anyone who wants to use them or ride a motorcycle needs a license. So without license, you cannot ride it. So no one really can use it because it's also under his name. He's the one that's gonna be liable for the accidents and stuff like. He testified about G-Clause, mainly about Mawa, and this is what we kept talking about Mawa, right? And about the rooms, the constructions, which events happened in Mawa and what he has seen, what Mawa this place is used for, right? This is like one of the main arguments between the two parties, because government keeps emphasize that this is the mention for Miles' own family. But this security Scott, he testified that when he first heard that Miles bought the mansion, he was so surprised because he said this is not his.
It's not very fitting for Mr. Miles.
He's not
his
type of
private
property.
residence for himself.
Yes. He said
and-
this is not his type of property. It's huge, right? And then we saw like labels of the rooms for madam, for son, for daughter. It turned out it's just a security map. So it's like a blueprint.
Because the thing is, he said in court that Mr. Miles is a very private person, as we know. He likes to, buy some land, to be away from, because Mawa is inside of a neighborhood, 12 acres, whatnot. It's not a small property by any means, but it's just for Mr. Miles' goal, right? For privacy reasons and whatnots. But anyways, we went over that a little bit. Talked about his relationship with Mr. Miles when he was working for him. What did he call him? Sir, Mr. Miles, P for principal, things like that. And he was asked, like, for example, so here's the thing about this 64th Street, as we know, right, with Golden Spray and everything else, because he is also the driver, right, driving Mr. Miles,
Right.
Him, Yvette, for example, in the past to 64th Street, and one thing that the question that Sabrina asked is that, was this Sid? I'm sorry. From the
It
defense.
should be Sid.
Okay, yeah.
No,
oh,
sorry.
Sid.
It might have been Sabrina.
For this
who
one's
did
Sabrina,
the
yes.
Sabrina,
Sabrina,
that's
yes.
right. She asked him, was there anything that was like alarming, some form of a risk when you were, working for Mr. Miles that was alarming, right? Because it wants to showcase that this is a very real thing.
Right.
And then so to 64th Street, he said that there were suspicious packages. Okay, there were people that was trying to get in to the building that were, question marks, right? The people that are who knows who they are and things like that. So he named a bunch of different things of possible risks and whatnots, because it's just to showcase.
Right,
that.
and I know we just ran out of time for the show, but I think it's great to end off on that note, and then we can pick it up again yesterday, because I do believe that this was brought up earlier in the trial, if I remember properly, about whether Miles, needed so much security, and it's evidently clear why. Like Miles needed the security because of what he does to go against the Chinese Communist Party, and there's nobody better to testify for that than than Scott himself. Right?
And very, very interesting is the only thing they can find to prove that someone lived in that mansion is the picture of a bookcase and also a closet with woman clothes. This is the best thing they can show that's by the government that to show someone lives here. But then with the security per Scott, he followed Miles like almost all the time. Okay, and he said he stayed in the mansion for a couple of days and he leaves. He never lives there. And then as well as same for his daughter, he stayed for a day or leave right away. Because he stayed in the mansion to do some broadcast and he leave. And he never stay there.
Yeah. I mean, he also testified in court saying that the property was used for lunar celebration, for example, amongst other things like broadcasting. So commercial purposes, right? Not for personal, personal purposes, like for Mr. Miles' family and whatnot. It's a commercial purpose, like the lunar celebration, just to name one. So that's testified in court. It's on the transcript. Yeah.
Right, and I think that's also like a great note to end on too. Just just for the fact that it testifies to the fact that Miles has never intended for this our home base for personal use, and all those times you see him doing the broadcast was just for that. It's just to do the broadcast.
Yep.
And with that being said, thank you Jackson and Feather for coming onto the show. It's been great having you two here to continue to spread more information about the trial to the viewers, and to the viewers out there. I do appreciate you guys for tuning in to another episode of Miles' Trial, and I want to give a special shout out to Jeremy for offering the NFSC a opportunity to broadcast on this platform to spread more awareness to Miles' trial. As we see in the past weeks and even today, the CCP will inevitably come up in the witnesses' testimonies, and especially as we move into the testimony of George Higginbotham, who is a part of the repatriation efforts of the CCP, CCP's attempt overseas to lobby the American government to repatriate Miles. So this will be very, very interesting to see, and we might even be talking about this tomorrow on the show. Yep. So again, stay tuned for if you guys want to learn more about this trial, and we will see you guys next time. God bless.